So this guy Sameer from Art Center in Pasadena, he's doing his master's degree there. He got in touch with me to ask me for an interview for his thesis. And it turned out to be such a nice conversation about toys that I thought I would like to share with you guys. But unfortunately, I didn't get the Google Hangouts on air working, so it is just an audio clip on my end, which I had to subtitle his side because the volume was really low. But there's some images that's, some of the screen shares are included, so there's still something to watch. So enjoy this video. Thanks.
So congrats on your product. That was
thank you.
Watching the product work, and I mean even the video which you made to just promote it was really cool.
Thanks.
So yeah, I come from a toy design background. In India, I worked for 2 years in toys, educational toys.
Mm-hmm.
And after 2 years, I figured I want to go into industrial design and go deeper into the broader range of toys and global toys.
Yep.
So then I decided I should apply for a college in US and get my industrial design master's. So I applied for Art Center and I got through, and it's been good here. And I did my internship last term in Hasbro toys.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So that was Rhode Island.
Yeah, it was Rhode Island. Transformers team.
Okay.
That was really fun. Just the environment of a toy company was just so fun.
Yeah. I used to work with some of the guys in Hasbro as well. I think one of my friends worked on, I think, one of the Transformer range that kind of looks like a little bit like the Fisher Price sort of thing, the kind of a more cartoony looking
Yeah,
Transformer range. Yeah, so yeah, quite familiar with the guys in Hasbro, but probably from maybe about 10 years ago. I don't know how many of them are still in the company, in the industry. Yeah.
That's when you were in Stick First.
Yes.
Toy.
Yes. Because Hasbro was distributing our stuff, so we worked with some of the guys there.
Great. And so after that, my thesis project, I again chose to do like the future of toys and how can we merge, how can digital and physical toys be brought together?
Mm-hmm.
How can be a bridge between them? And so I'm just talking to experts in the field. So you're one of the experts.
I'm hardly an expert.
I mean, Colossus looks really cool.
Thanks.
So so just to begin with, I will just so I will quickly send you a mail with a couple of pictures.
Okay. Let me download that and so I can open it up big. Okay, so it's quite a number of pictures. Okay.
Yeah.
9, 10, 11. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So the first question would be, please pick 3 cards which represent an activity which you really like to do, or something which is related to some activity which you like to do. So 3 cards.
So for me to choose 3 that I relate to.
Yeah.
Okay. Probably personally would be the one with the train set.
Mm-hmm.
Legos. And maybe the one that this guy's working on a car, I think. Painting a car or grinding a car.
Okay.
In the bottom, yeah. So that's the 3.
That's cool. Now, could you just explain why you chose these 3?
I think besides being a toy player, of course, obviously I'm a creator as well. So that probably kind of explains the working on the car thing. I think that's the building something part of me, the creating part of me. Of all the obvious toys there, or the games and toys there, the probably because I'm nearly 40, so Lego would be something I am something I'll grow up with, as compared to things like video games and stuff. So Lego as a childhood thing is probably the one that I relate with a little bit more. And I think maybe if you were talking to someone maybe 10 or 15 years older than me, they might be looking at stamp collections or something like that, right? So yeah, but for me, I think for people my age, probably a connection with Lego is pretty strong. The whole train set thing is also something that I don't actually own a train set, but I always am fascinated by the whole miniaturization and representation of another world, another, because a lot of the train sets actually, I think. Well, I think the U.S. is pretty big on train sets. I think Europe and the U.K. is pretty big on train sets. It's not something that I think many of us in the rest of the world can quite afford to play with when we were kids. And but yeah, I think it's fascinating just to have like a miniaturized world. And yeah, it's moving and makes noise and stuff. Yeah, so that is something that it fascinates me even from a child.
That's awesome. Yeah, because I heard that. I mean, even I'm into miniature, and I like the small things which represent things, but they work at that scale.
Hmm.
Just excites me.
I think from knowing from my knowledge of the toy industry, there is a certain size of the human character with that people are able, or rather maybe kids are able to relate to. It's kind of like how Star Wars action figures, the 3-inch action figure, right? So when the figure is that size or bigger, people can relate to them as as an avatar, as a representation of a human being. But sometimes when you get smaller than that, when the human figure is really small,
Right.
that individual relation is not there. The humans become more like a prop
True.
than the character that's driving the play. Like yeah, so um, I think when Star Wars action figures came out in 1979 or whatever, they really, I don't know whether it was accidental or whatever, they stumbled on this perfect size where kids could relate to the characters enough because they had enough visual information on that 3-inch size to communicate the story and to be played out. And yeah, they were not big like a GI Joe or a Barbie. You could build a car or a plane for the 3-inch Star Wars guys, which is why it kind of exploded in popularity around the world. I think at that point.
That's cool. And the car restoration part.
I think it's just the building, right? Making something, the working on something. It. Well, I spent 2 years being a car mechanic, so maybe that's why. That's why as well. But yeah, but it is that hands-on building something. This seems to be the only picture here that's about making something.
Right. And do you see it as a skill set which evolves over time, like you get better at it? Is that one of the reasons you are attracted towards it?
I think definitely it's I kind of look at it in a different way about I want to the reason why I went into all this partly is because I want to have a skill set that I can continually use.
Right.
I'm not sure whether I will be perfect or super great. Obviously I would not be able to compete with people doing it kind of professionally on a day in day out basis. But it's I want to be able to continue to use my hands, use my brains, use electronic circuits, whatever, to continue to build stuff for the rest of my life, right? And I think hopefully I'll get better with time. But I think that's one of the important things for me to have the ability in the future I might have another idea, but I will then have the ability to turn it real, to make it an actual thing.
Do you see any activities in those cards which you grew out of, which you might have done in your childhood or teenage years, and you don't do it anymore?
That I don't do anymore. What do you?
Yeah, you
Okay.
discontinue.
That I
So you
stopped
didn't.
doing. Yeah. Um, I think board games and collecting, like the stamp collection and the board game,
Mhm.
uh, is probably off the top of my head. Yeah, the thing that I don't really do anymore. I think, yeah.
Got it. And going forward, what like in general, what is your fallback option? Like when you get bored or when you just don't have anything else to do, what is your fallback hobby or
Oh, I
pastime?
mean, I probably play a lot of video games.
Mhm.
Yeah, I play a lot of video games. So that takes up most of my kind of you know spare time when I'm not particularly doing anything.
And what type of games are you
Um,
the the-
Sorry.
yeah, the type of games which
Um, Probably a lot more of the RPG games, MMORPGs, maybe a little bit of shooting games and stuff like that. But yeah, that's mostly the sort of games I play. Maybe strategy games sometimes, like world building, or yeah,
yeah,
just a mix of video games. But mostly on the
right.
PC. I don't really play on console. I don't really play on mobile
Okay.
or tablets. Yeah, mostly on PC.
Got it. So I was going to ask, like, how do you connect between, you said, strategy games sometimes you play, like you intend, like there are new games in which you control the worlds and stuff. Do you relate it to the miniature part of it? Like, is that part of your attraction towards that game?
Hmm, that's a very good point. I think games like The Sims, or some kind of a world building game where you build a town and you kind of get the economy going right and stuff like that, and or any sort of kind of top down view simulation. I think those have a very direct relationship to toys. From just taking little figures and pretending that this is a shop and stuff like that. When you're kids, it translates to this sort of games where now I'm building a street, now I'm building a town or something. Yeah, so yeah, that definitely that relationship is there.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah.
Yeah. So, and the other part is right now as a grown-up person, how do you differentiate between play and hobbies? So, as a kid, it's more of play, and but I think as we grow, go more into the hobby side of things. Where how do you differentiate, and what is your definition of play and hobby?
I think um, for most people that I know or I've noticed, a lot of them when they get to adulthood, they change it to a collection mentality rather than a play mentality. Uh, this might be mostly a guy thing, right? But yeah, they end up going, and the nostalgia part is the important part, right? So they might be collecting things that they liked when they were kids, or or their parents never bought for them when they were kids. Uh, they couldn't afford when they were kids, and now that you're making money, and I'm actually seeing that happen because you get these toys like from the 60s and 70s, and they're going for crazy amounts of money on eBay, you know, and it's not kids buying them, right? It's obviously adults buying them for, I don't know, just to fulfill the fact that, oh yeah, I couldn't afford this when I was 10 years old. Now I'm 40. I can buy like 100 of these. I can buy the whole set. You know, so I think it's kind of changed to a bit more of a collection, a bit more of a display, right? So they might, you know, have a couple of shelves at home where, you know, this is where I keep my stuff.
Right.
I personally don't do that, but I recognize that. I personally don't do that. I think I've gotten kind of to a stage where most of the things I own are things that I've actually put in my own time and my own work into. I'm not. I don't really do the whole buy off the shelf to own the thing. You know, I don't really do that anymore personally. Yeah, but I see that I recognize that is a very common adult behavior with regards to toys.
And obviously, your toy is aimed at grown-ups with the price range.
Yes, yes.
I aimed at kind of the collector mentality.
Yep.
So, on on what? How did you come up with that kind of a new toy? With you went into a parallel World War II, but parallel era, like a different universe kind of era approach.
I think one of the things which I only kind of realized because somebody else actually emailed me talking about toys, and in my reply to him, I stumbled upon this thing that in Asia, well, in East Asia anyway, the toy market is very different from what is in America. I think America is still very dominated by the very big retailers, right? Your Walmarts, your Toys R Us, and your Targets and such. It's a lot of the toys that you guys are getting exposed to are mass market toys that is being sold at, you know, $15.99 or whatever in these big box retailers. I think in the recent years, especially maybe in the last 10-ish years, East Asia, probably the more developed parts of East Asia, Japan, Hong Kong, has kind of developed a different toy culture of very high quality, highly detailed toys that are very expensive, right? So I think Japan kind of started that, and Hong Kong kind of picked up on that. So they're very high quality stuff that let me see if I can do a screen share there. But they're really high quality stuff that in the US you probably only see them in very niche mom and pop stores, right? I mean, let me see if I can do a screen share.
Sideshow collectibles. They make some.
Can you see that?
They make some. Oh yeah.
Right. So stuff like that. I mean, these are hundreds of dollars, right? They look like real. I mean, the Iron Man suit, the armor bits move, right?
Yeah.
This is the sort of stuff. This is coming out of Hong Kong. This is hot toys from Hong Kong. Each of these, $300 and stuff like that. I mean, you get the $15 Iron Man in Walmart, right? But these are clearly another class altogether. Right.
I was watching this video of Hulkbuster today.
Yep.
In the morning, and it was like super realistic. Had all the planes, armor moving, and it was really good.
Yeah. So you have something like this. I mean, this guy, this company is also from Hong Kong, and they make these figures I mean, these are obviously not for children, right? I mean, they're more like a fashion accessory. They're more like a display, and the amount of like needlework and that goes into making some of these is these are selling for hundreds of dollars. So this is in a way part of the kind of East Asian toy subculture that has come up in the last, I don't know, maybe 15 years, 20 years. And they're putting it out there, right? This is another version of the Iron Man. This is probably a little bit more of a, yeah, but they're not cheap.
They're not cheap.
They're not cheap toys. They brought quality to a new level, and
And the adults, so the people who buy them, the collectors, they just want to display them in their living room or in their man cave.
yes, yeah, exactly. It's a man cave thing, right? It's definitely a man cave thing, and
And that
and
is,
and based on your question, right? I could have made my thing a Star Wars thing, right? I could have made it a Star Wars ad, and made it move and made it light up and stuff like that. But there's two things about this. Is first, I would be having to pay a Star Wars license to do it, right? Which people do. You look at these guys; they're paying Iron Man licenses, and they're making money off this, right? Uh, but I mean, at least to me, I'll find it more interesting for me to make something of my own, um, and to me, this is like the cheapest way for me to bring my idea and my story to the market, right? If I wanted to make a cartoon, it would be really expensive. If I wanted to make a comic book, it would take up a lot more work and will be probably pretty expensive to get it published, right? So to me, it is maybe a first step of getting this brand up in the market, and and you know to the world.
I think, yeah. I mean, we don't see many independent toy makers or toy creators, and I think that's a good approach at this point. Because of the mass market, mass production, but these high-end niche products are definitely required.
Yeah, I think I mean, having been in the toy market for a while, I realize there's no medium-sized toy company. There is big ones like your Hasbro's and your Mattels, and there's small ones. And the big ones are big out of necessity because they are, in order to fulfill the requirements of Walmart and Toys R Us globally, they have to be that big, right? They have to spend $20 million on marketing each of the brands. They have to have supply chains across the world to make sure that the shops are filled up. And I can't do that, I can't, I don't have $3 million of security deposit to put with Walmart, in order to put my stuff on their shelves. And so everybody else is small. There's nobody in the middle, because, you either get to a certain size and Mattel or Hasbro goes, I'll buy you, and or distribute for you, right? Or take over your manufacturing, or you're making stuff like this and selling straight off to a mom and pop store, indie comic shop, and selling one or two pieces in each and every store, right? So yeah, you're either small or you're big, and I think that's the way the toy market is at this time.
That's good. That's very good. Do you, yeah, what do you define as your ideal toy? What is the image in your mind when I say ideal toy? What are the characteristics?
Um, it's wow, it's a really tough question.
Well, I've been trying to understand what a toy means to different people and different ages.
Yeah, and I think you're very right about the different age groups thing. In a lot of ways, what I like is it's going to be always be rooted with what I like when I was a kid, or what I always wanted when I was a kid, or what I wish existed when I was a kid. Um, at this stage, if you really ask me, it would probably be a lot of Lego, or something like that. Uh, um, I mean, obviously, I built my toy as the toy I always wanted, right? Not
Right.
just not just something that doesn't move. I want something that moves. I want something that works. Kind of a cross between radio controlled vehicles
Yeah.
and a beautiful sculpture full of detail, and lots of little moving parts,
Yeah.
like we had, all mechanical wind up toys and stuff. So in a way, I kind of have built the toy that I want. Um,
Right.
of course, I kind of want it like 3 times as big as well. So, but yeah, um, yeah. But if you were to tell me if I had lots of money right now and I can spend it on something, I'll probably spend it on a lot of Lego. I'll
Okay.
probably need a very big house as well. But yeah.
Great. And so yeah. So coming back to high detail, high end market,
Mm.
handcrafted toys, and I really see that really big thing going forward. But how do you think the video game industry and that kind of industry, like at one point, would the high detail video games and the virtual reality and augmented reality overtake the physical toys, or how do you see that being competitive?
I think again, this is a question that is probably going to be rooted in age groups, right? Because I grew up with physical toys, and then went on to video games. And I think the whole world went into the virtual, world in the early 2000s, and we realized, because with Second Life, with EverQuest and stuff like that, we went into we thought about the virtual world for a bit, and then we realized, it's actually not that much there. Of course, it could be because the graphics were shit at that time, um, but I think um, there was a kind of rebound back to physical toys, or
Yeah.
physical. There was a rebound. Board games became quite big, and especially in Europe, board games is now became a strong thing. Um, People started, wanting to have the physical thing. So I think there will be swings between virtual and physical, and I think, quite frankly, humans are bored. We get bored easily, right?
Yeah.
Give us a couple of years of wonderful video games, and we'll get bored. Why is the video games always the same? And we'll go, hey, check this out. This is a physical thing, and I'll go collect these things. So after a while, maybe I'll get bored and I'll go back to video games. So I think uh, to to me, as a person who grew up with physical toys, um, that nostalgia thing will always be there, right? I will always try to maybe go back and look at the stuff that I enjoyed when I was a kid, and see a new iteration of it. Whether I like that new iteration of it. But I'm not sure about kids now who grew
Yeah.
up on digital games.
Right.
So I don't
Like
know whether, because I've got younger nieces and nephews, and yeah, they do have some connection with physical toys sometimes, like Transformers and stuff. But I'm not sure it's as strong as what I had when I was young. So I don't know. I don't know how their cycles are gonna move. I know how a 40-year-old, 30-year-old guy's cycle is gonna move, but maybe for a 10-year-old, I'm not sure if it's gonna be the same cycle.
so, yeah. I mean, that's right. You were right about the swing part. They go back and forth. Like I think the whole generation will grow up, and then the next generation will get attracted to a different thing.
I mean, you just have to look at one or two things, right? Yo-yos.
Yeah.
Every 10 years they come back, right? It started made of wood, then it was made of plastic, and then it was plastic with LED lights, and but it always comes back. Skateboards comes back every 10 years or so, right? So it comes back different each time. It comes back slightly different each time, but it comes back. And I think, yeah, that's just, yeah, you're right. There's just one generation of kids getting playing with it, and then once they forget it, it'll come back again.
Yeah. And nowadays we are seeing the Disney Infinity, and they have that physical toy aspect.
Yep.
And the toys to life kind of aspect where even Lego Dimensions is coming up with. So we have a physical toy, you put it on a portal, then.
Yeah, and the funny that you say that. In 1997, me and a couple of friends, we actually proposed this idea to Electronic Arts.
Wow.
In 1997, they flew us to South Korea. We met their VP over there, and we proposed it to them. But at that point in time, an RFID reader was $100. Each RFID chip was like $2. So it was not. It was one of those things, a classic case of idea ahead of its time. I mean, the hardware was just so expensive. Yeah, so they didn't pick it up, and eventually, I think Skylanders started it again. I mean, I think sometimes good ideas, or maybe just decent ideas, they're not proprietary, right? I mean, other people can independently come up with the same idea. So they came out at a time when RFID chips were matter of cents, and they was much smaller, and readers were $10 instead of $100, right? Because back when we were suggesting this idea of using RFID to launch games, to launch safe games and stuff like that, the only people using RFID was logistics, right? It was like your FedEx and library books, right? So at that point in time, the hardware was just simply too expensive. Yeah.
True. But I mean, I think that is an attempt to bridge the gap between physical and digital toys and video games.
I think, okay.
I don't think it's a successful attempt, definitely, but.
Okay, I think you have to look at it kind of from the opposite direction. You got to look at it from a video game perspective. The video game perspective was that software piracy was high, right? Anybody can take my CD, rip it, and play the game.
Right.
But you can't do it with a physical object. So it is effectively, the toy is a dongle, right? I mean, you have your hardware dongles for any number of professional softwares, right? Effectively, the toy is a dongle.
Right.
So, and the other thing is that as video games go digital, I mean, obviously, Electronic Arts was late to the game compared to Steam, right? When it comes to digital delivery of video games, but at that point in time, they were tackling with, what do we do with this piracy thing? I've got this distribution network. At a point when once the internet got to a certain stage, you don't need a CD. Actually, I mean, the physical media was way behind time of getting phased out, right? You don't need a physical media after a certain amount of bandwidth that the general public has. And so, but they realized, I've got a distribution network with stores around the world. I need to sell something to them. And what better? I'll sell a toy that's linked to a game. Yeah, you can download the game, but you need the toy. And I've got this. I have no other choice to sell this toy, right? Steam can't sell this toy. Yeah. So that was leveraging on a physical sales network to continue selling video games. And I think it is not a perfect implementation of it, but I think it's pretty successful. I mean, I think the kids like it. It's to me, it's not a big deal. I know it for what it is, but I think kids like it. I think that bit of connection is good. I don't know how they exactly implement the thing, but they could bring the toy to the friend's place, scan it, and continue playing the game. I think that play pattern is something that the kids do enjoy, and also it also has the collection thing, right? I mean, it's like the whole Pokemon, gotta have them all, but this is a physical one. And you gotta spend whatever $19 or whatever to collect each of them, and it starts to add up. So I don't know. I think the numbers are working for them. I think in terms of whether as an idea is something for everybody, I'm not sure. But for the few franchises that are doing it, Skylanders, Disney Infinity, I think the numbers are working for them.
True. And I think that's the questions I had, and I'd be happy if you have any questions.
So what's your research about?
I'm trying to see if there is an opportunity, market opportunity, or a good idea which I can come up with, where it's a toy which can be across age groups, which can start with a kid or a teenager and then extend into the later life, into the 40s, 50s, and that is set in the future. So what would that experience be 15 years from now or 10 years from now?
Yeah, I mean, again, yeah, just again, I think to me it is still very rooted in the generation of the audience, because to me, like virtual worlds, and I mean, as much as I like playing video games, virtual reality and augmented reality has some interest to me, but one of the main things that it takes away is that because virtual reality, augmented reality, and video games are visual mediums, right? They present a visual graphics to the audience, and one of the things about play, if you really bring it back to your example, your first example, which is the stick, right?
Yeah.
To a kid, this stick can be a lightsaber, right? But once he sees a video game that's got a lightsaber, this stick may not be good enough, right? And I think one of the things that the video games, any visual medium does is that it removes the imagination part by prescribing this is how it's meant to look like. This is how the world exactly looks like, and this is how So to me, like a blanket to a kid can be a cave, right? You hide it under your blanket with your brothers and sisters. You're in a cave, right? And with your torch, and if you show me a 3D rendered perfectly beautiful blanket, that blanket is a blanket, right? I need you to show me a perfectly rendered cave to feel like I'm in a cave. So it takes that imagination part, that visual imagination part away from kids. So kids now are growing up without having to use that part of their imagination, where I think I personally have benefited from that. I know people of my generation who grew up does that. So to me, because you had a question of what's the sort of augmented reality or virtual reality thing you want to see in toys, and to me it's kind of, it should be as light a touch as possible, so that the play can exist in the real world. Okay, I'll just give you some examples. I
was looking at Microsoft HoloLens and Minecraft, the way they were showing. That looked amazing. But I was just wondering if there's no physical aspect to it, and could do something physical, and could there be a good mix of that excellent technology versus a really well-made physical toy?
Can you see that?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is just an Android app, and all it is that you know the movie Aliens.
Yeah, yeah.
This is like the motion sensor in Aliens
Oh yeah, yeah,
on
yeah.
an Android app,
Right.
right?
So
So
it's I mean
all it does is that you got this phone, and it's
right.
it's doing the beep, but this digital, very simple digital thing is triggering in you the imagination that you're in the alien world, right? It's like they're coming out of the walls, it's just a very simple implementation of this into the physical world. So the play is still in the imagination. I got a few other examples
This one
the Fallout Pit Boy, right? Which I think they're gonna give out the exclusive in Fallout 4, this is one that somebody made, but something like this is like the game is not in that little green screen on your wrist.
right.
The your imagination is fired up in your real world,
Right.
being triggered by this tiny bit of technology. So
I think
the technology augments the play.
right.
I got
So I think
another simple example here.
oh yeah, this one. Let me
Yeah,
just get my charger. My laptop is low on battery. I'll just do that.
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so for something like this this is like a Nerf gun competitor, right? It's basically like a Nerf gun, but you put your phone there. Every time you pull the trigger, there's like a little finger that presses the screen, so it counts the ammo, right? So you kind of have like, oh yeah, I'm kind of like in a video game with some of the video game sci-fi kind of semantics,
Right.
but the play is still in the real world, right? So it's a kind of a combination between using just a tiny bit of technology
Right.
to make the real world play even more interesting, or just to spark that imagination up a little bit more, right? So I mean, I was thinking just tiny things like this could with like things like Google Glass, and with things like um, um, with things like HoloLens and stuff like that. If they just have to add just a little bit of the video game semantics, or the sci-fi world semantics into our real world play, I think it would be interesting. But the whole me swinging my arms in front of my face and stuff like that, I'm not completely sure how much mileage that has in that sense. Do I want to do I want to do this all the time? It's not. I'm not sure if that's the sort of play I want to be involved with, because it's almost becoming like, but that is video game. That's a light version of a video game, right? If I want to play a video game, I'll play a video game. If I want to have a physical play, like with a Nerf gun, I will want to have a physical play with a Nerf gun. But can there be some digital things that input, sounds, audio, or I think those are just little things that reinforces the imagination. Yeah. So I mean I like these little gimmicks, but they are gimmicks, but I think they add a little bit of fun to the play.
And I think, I mean, when you said the Pip Boy, when you
Mm.
showed that, and you said that itself is not functioning, or it might not what has shown in the game.
Yeah.
But that's the representation of what happens in the game. And every time somebody sees that, they recollect everything that happened in the game.
Exactly.
And I think that is the same mentality behind like replicas. When people collect replicas of
Mm-hmm.
idol collectors, and they have a lot of all the hot toys, whichever you showed, and
Yep.
even the replica guns from a lot of video games. They're all the same thing. They look at them in their man cave or in their
Mm.
and then they say, "Oh, this is from that game." So that moment of connection between
Yep.
the real game and that replica that is why they probably buy them.
Yeah. I think that either is a trigger of a memory or a trigger of imagination, right? And I think that's those are the more important. It still needs to be something that happens inside the brain, and maybe not. Well, I mean, I can't kid myself, right? Because I spend a lot of time playing video games. But yeah, but I think there is a limit to what just having a visual presentation can give to, yeah.
I think I have one last question.
Sure,
Like,
sure.
how much, personally, in your opinion, how much of mechanism and physical movement do you require versus a sculptural approach? Like, what is the proportion do you think? Like 50%, 50%, or how much? Like 60-40? Like, what do you see is the ideal?
That's a very okay. Okay, one of the things. Okay, one of the things that was when we started with Stickfast, one of the things that was really big at that time was McFarlane toys, right? Todd McFarlane's toys. They were beautiful sculptures, but they could barely move, right? They were beautifully painted. They were beautifully sculpted, but they had very little movement. So to me, I called them in-action figures, right? They were not meant to be played, almost to a point, right? So I think you may be familiar with Stickfast, but Stickfast was the exact opposite, right? It had no features, but it was really flexible, and you can pose it anyway, right? So it was about movement and playing, as opposed to. So I think there should be, yeah, I don't want, I don't like things that they're just purely sculpture as well. I think a little bit of play, a little bit of movement actually would draw people in and go, hey, what's going on here? They'll be more interesting than pure sculpture. Of course, you can't deny the fact that they're beautiful things are very attractive in itself. Yeah, I can't say I really have a split, but I think that motion, that play part has to exist. It definitely has to exist, regardless of how beautiful. Otherwise, it's just a sculpture, right? And I think, yeah, back then, your old GI Joes and your old Barbies, they hardly moved, right? They moved their arms up and down. That's about it, right? Early Star Wars was like that. But now you look at all the figures right now. All of them can bend their elbows. They can twist their wrists. They can turn their heads. They can do a lot more. And I think that is adding to it. The attention to detail. Like even all of these hot toys, they can pose, right? You can put them in the favorite movie poses. As compared to the old ones, it was just they stood straight. So I think as the the improvements are happening on both in both directions. So I think that's good. So maybe yeah. So at least I think all of these should at least have a little bit of play, a little bit of motion. Yeah.
That was a really helpful conversation.
Thank you. I think interesting to check out what comes off your research and who else you've been talking to for your research.
People from Hasbro
Mhm.
and I've been talking to some from Lego,
Mhm.
from Masters,
Mm.
talking to different people. So yeah, I mean Saturday I was at this quadcopter racing there.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I was just observing people and what kind of.
Yeah, I think
So
that's going to be pretty mad. That's going to be pretty mad. I mean, that's like Star Wars Episode 1 pod racing, but
exactly.
like real, right? I think that's
If somebody adds a component like the Nerf gun,
yeah,
somebody adds component to their glasses,
yeah,
and they can see virtual laser beams or something, then that would get even more fun.
yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah.
and I was looking at like a 13, 12-year-old boy. He built his own quadcopter and he was racing, and I think it like that's a new hobby which is picking up right now. I think
Yep.
in the past 3 years, just brand new. It's just
Yeah, no, yeah, that's really in the last 3 years or 2 years that
And then
and
when they go into their 30s, 40s, 50s, they'll continue this. It's like a model train set
yeah,
on
well, yeah,
the new version of that
yeah,
train.
and I think things like the camera technology and stuff like that is helping that. Yeah, yeah. So because somebody was saying that, yeah, the Lily drone,
Right.
basically
Yeah.
it's a drone that detects this sensor
Right.
on so you put a sensor on yourself, it floats and it will aim itself at the sensor. So yeah, some people are saying that just put the sensor on another drone and fly that drone so the Lily follows. So you have a camera. You basically have a camera drone behind you filming
That's
it,
it.
and yeah, and it's like that's pretty cool. All right, so that's almost like you can make movies out of that.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm just trying to come up with, if I can come up with a new toy, I'm just looking. That's probably the ultimate goal, if I can. But
Cool.
otherwise, I would come up with a good treaty of toys and let's see.
Yeah. Good luck.
Yeah,
Good luck with that.
I graduate in December, so
Mm.
I have this term and then I have another 3-4 months to work on it.
Cool.
Awesome. So I'll get back to you. I think you're assembling that. I could see
Yeah,
that.
second one. Yeah. Oh no, that one. Oh no, that's actually the first one. That's my real prototype. The first one that I
Oh,
literally printed on. You can see it's many different colors because it's all printed on whatever scrap ABS I could find on different 3D printers, and then yeah, it's all cobbled together. So that's like the first.
so are you planning to launch a series of toys like the one like Colossus and then in the same series?
Yes, I will. I mean, I think I'm gonna do. My plans probably two different approach. One is the the handmade, well, the kind of made to order thing that I'm doing now, which is at a higher price point and at a lot more attention to work into it. But I think I also want to release something on in the same world, in the same in the same kind of size and stuff. I mean scale and stuff. But something smaller and maybe um, have it manufactured so I can have it at a more accessible price point. So I think I'm trying to do a multiple tier approach to that. Yeah, because obviously not everybody can afford the expensive one, and quite frankly,
I can't afford it, right?
no, and quite frankly, I'm not making a lot of money out of that. A lot of that goes into the materials. I'm practically paying myself minimum wage just to make that. Despite how expensive it is, because it just takes so much time, right? So that is kind of a passion project, a flagship, a brand, loss leader sort of thing. Um, but yeah, it's not sustainable for me to keep doing that for the rest of my life. But I think having a multiple tiers would be something that I'm currently exploring.
Looking forward to your other toy.
Yeah.
So I can.
Yeah. Thank. That's good
That
luck.
was
Good.
really helpful. I'll be in touch and I'll keep you
Yeah.
updated.
Sure. Thanks for getting in touch in the first place. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take